Well. What should I do? Should I continue to play this series or should I talk about something greater? Something that allows me to ramble? Sure, why the heck not? Wait, I'm missing something, ain't I? Yeah, I am missing something. Well, that feels better. But now I need something to talk about, something to do, something to think about. What could that be? What is the weakest nation in CK2? Or, how about weakest region? Sounds much easier to do in a later stage of the game. But where could that be? Well, the easiest place to point fingers at is this whole mess. Especially since it's still very disunited, very weak. Many of the strong nations at this point have collapsed, like Azaria and Novgorod. But is that a fair assumption? Well, let's look at the region compared to everywhere else. Religion. So Amensko, Tengri, Catholic, Manichaean. Government. Nomadic, tribal, feudal. Kind of everywhere on that one, too. Well, let's look at cultures. Cultures. Wow, okay. That's even more disunited. They're everywhere, aren't they? Mordvin, Nenets, Komi, Khazars, Pecheneg. And I can't even tell what's in this. This is just a great big mess, isn't it? Huh. How about dynasties? I'm scared. Okay, dynasties still disunited, but it's basically the same map. Just slight differences in the names, I guess. Not much of a difference there. Revolt risk. Yeah, no. Maybe it's the map mode? No. Definitely no differences there that I can tell. Besides, it's mostly plains. Or steppe. Like that makes a difference. So, maybe it's cultures. Maybe they just hate each other into oblivion, stopping themselves from ever advancing just because of petty differences. Maybe not. Maybe it's government. I mean, tribal is huge, and it's pretty much this entire region here, and this region here. So does it feel right? Let's try and pinpoint something much more disunited. Here. This region here. Bohemia, Carpathia, Serbia. All of them much smaller powers. All of them kind of conglomerated and pushed into a similar region. And we might as well throw in Bavaria for fun. Tribal, feudal, feudal, feudal. So 1 tribal, 3 feudal. Let's look at this. Gavelkind. 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 And Gavelkind. All of them have Gavelkind. That seems like a fair enough assumption. What if this region is weak solely because it's Gavelkind at the start of the game? The weakest inheritance. Not just because they're tribal, but because they are Gavelkind. And of course, I'm basing this off of the AI. No need to base this off of the player, such as Francia. I am the player in this game as Francia. Do not mind the big blue blob. So, Gavelkind screwed this region over, burnt it a thunder, forced them to squabble and be petty, Even this empire, once mighty, is now a divided realm, allowing a much more powerful player of Roslavl to enter the playing field and level them out along with all of their former territories. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's why this region is so divided. And maybe that was also what weakened Khazaria, allowing for Sarek and other nations to break free. No. Nomad succession. I have no idea what that entails. No idea at all. Well, maybe that is what screwed this region over more. Roslava, what do you have? Even though you're massive and mighty, maybe... No, you still have Gavelkind. Did not affect you that much, did it, Roslava? Hmm. Well, let's see here. India. Probably the most known continent, or subcontinent, for just being divided. What made you divided? Since I'm not getting a fair analysis from this region, what makes you not able to consolidate? Let's look at government. Well, that's big and blue. So we can now fairly assume that tribal and nomadic don't play a role. Let's look at culture. Ew. Well, we can't rule out culture now. Look at that, Bengali, Rajputs, Tamil. Maybe they just ate each other into non-existence again. Definitely not out of the question. Religion. Ew. Hindu, Jain, Hindu, Buddhist. They're a little bit everywhere. Kind of like this region too. Battled the ages Catholic, Sumensko, Tengri. And there are more at the beginning. Slavic, Ramuva, even the Germanic. Maybe that's what divided them too. Maybe it's a combination of just them all hating each other and wanting to battle it out to the very end. But all those nations over there did have Gavelkind. Do they still have Gavelkind over here? Maybe that is the reason. No, Gavelkind. I'm looking to see if there's something different. Gavelkind. How about you? Still Gavelkind? Still Gavelkind. All the major players here seem to have Gavelkind as well. Maybe that is just the basic of all of this. Let's click the biggest nation. Do they have Gavelkind? No. They have open. What the heck? Heh. Land of succession open. Well, that's just weird. They hold the Empire, the Arabian Empire, and it's open. How very weird. Another weird succession type I've never heard of. But they still are stable and mighty. So we can now assume that nomadic and open are kind of ruled out. Let's look over here at sub-Saharan Africa. This is a king, and king. Still divided for the most part, though. Kind of crazy. And I'm not going to include this because this is caused by the Aztecs. And I hate including things caused by the Aztecs. So that rules out Iberia, North Africa, and Italy. But these guys weren't affected by the Aztecs. Completely isolated. So, let's see. Let's check religion. Unified. Culture. Ew. All broken up. All crazy. Let's check government. Tribal. Okay. Well, let's check gavel, if they have Gavelkind. Eldership. Eldership, I'm guessing? Yep, eldership. And eldership. Huh. Well, let's think. What does Gavelkind do? Gavelkind splits the realm to have however many male heirs you have. So, eldership probably takes it down, allows one person to inherit. And since all of them are, in fact, an eldership, maybe that won't allow them to split the realm. Just maybe. Just maybe. And that has allowed Mali, Hausaland, and Kingdom to survive. And this is, of course, the most unified of all of those regions. So, but they're not completely unified. Maybe we can assume from this that Gavelkind isn't actually the greatest reason for their collapses everywhere else. Just maybe. But then, would it be culture? Because it kind of rules out religion. But then again, Sunni is coming in, busting down the door, preparing for an invasion, perhaps? Just maybe. But culture definitely is playing a role down here. Let's check the last region that was not affected by the Aztecs in this universe. The British Isles. Let's click Catholic all around, very unified. So now we can assume that religion doesn't play that big of a role. Culture. Well, still pretty chaotic. I mean, most of the map is. Definitely the Byzantines, and definitely the Abbasids aren't going, or the Taglabids aren't going in chaos. So maybe it is this. Let's see. Irish has conquered most of the north. Pictish and many others are on the back foot. Welsh, Anglo-Saxon. French has made it on the continent, or on the Isles. And Britain is pretty much down for the count. And this definitely is chaotic. Different regions are occupied by different cultures. Saxons on the Isles as well, causing a little bit more chaos. A lot of cultures for a very small little island set. Is that enough to break them down, though, in this game? Government. Mostly feudal, like India, so we can rule out government for causing this collapse for the most part. So I guess we're down to one thing. It's between culture and government, or inheritance in this case. Primogenitor. That's one biggin. Let's look at these guys. Puntuar. Gavelkind. And Gavelkind. So, let's think here. The most chaotic region of them all in terms of culture is this. But yet, it is all united into one major nation, Roslavel. So that is 1 point against culture for the most part. And of course, most of these guys are Gavelkind, just to point that out. All of them are. But I'm not going to count that against Gavelkind, since, well, the nations that count are, well, of course the most chaotic, but they are at least having not that many issues. Over here, all of them are Gavelkind, and all of them are mismatched in culture. So, well, can't really focus on them. Let's look over here. Cultures. Chaotic. And all of them do not have Gavelkind, but they're still more or less unified. So I'm not going to count any points. In this region here. Cultures mismatched. They're all fighting against each other. Most aren't even in the right region. But it's a mismatch. Some of them are Gavelkind, some of them aren't Gavelkind. How are we going to pick a winner? Well, India is locked into their own culture groups for the most part. There is no infighting, there aren't no lines across many of them, which means that they're staying in their own regions. What does this mean? Well, this means that culture is limiting them quite heavily. That could also be helped by Gallokind, though, splitting the realm. But if one did get massive enough and it did split, two people of the same culture would, in theory, have one of one culture, one of the other. So it wouldn't really matter. So maybe culture is keeping them in bounds, making sure that they cannot expand. And you can kind of see that down here as well, because even though that there are a lot, the ones with similar color have similar rulers. For instance, these guys are controlled by the Mandé, but they're West African. And if they have a similar color, that means that they are a part of the same major group, West African. West African. These are central, and well, these are east. Of course, I don't think they're eastern. They might still be eastern. They are no, they're Central African, which is why these guys have expanded into the region, conquering many of the East Africans. So we can even see that now. The East Africans took over or are gone, and well, that shows. So maybe it is culture. Culture keeps them in bounds. But what do we see here? The cultures are everywhere, mismatched, fighting, and in constant disarray. So, if every other place are kept in check and in bounds by many different cultures, and government doesn't really play that big of a role, then shouldn't we assume, just as a question, that the weakest region would be the region with cultures that are constantly not in bounds with each other and have the most differences? Well, don't you look at this. Ireland in Pictish lands, in Welsh lands, but all at the same time, Saxons taking over Anglo-Saxon lands? And what is this? Definitely different cultures. What is it? It looks like Irish taking over Anglo-Saxon, Anglo-Saxon taking over Irish? Well, isn't this a mismatch? Constantly fighting against each other, bashing each other into non-existentness. And guess what? That makes them weaker for it. They're constantly fighting against multiple different culture groups that aren't in their own, causing clashes between them. Who cares about the government type when they can't even get along with each other? Constantly plotting, constantly hating, constantly warring. In this game, it is not Gavelkind that divides the realm, but how the people see each other is what divides the realm.